Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss the most important factor affecting the general election this year, and most of the media are hardly talking about it. Voter ID was introduced by the Conservative government this Parliament. It was used for the first time during last year's local elections. I'm going to explain how it risks stealing millions of votes, how those behind it have admitted as much, and what you need to do to make sure it doesn't affect you or those you care about. So, first of all, the issue of voter ID has come to prominence again as a result of this Daily Express article. The headline: Tories could be saved in next election as 5 million voters to be turned away. Now let's break this down. First of all, why would 5 million voters be turned away? Because millions of people are known not to have suitable voter ID, but be otherwise eligible to vote. So they're eligible to vote, they won't be able to vote unless they not only have the right ID, but take it with them to the polling station. In fact, even some people who do have valid ID will still be turned away, as happened last year in the local elections. The Conservatives claim they introduced the new election to safeguard the security of elections, but this isn't true. Almost no voter fraud ever takes place. I mean, literally, you can count it on the fingers on a hand. And yet even the Express is saying that millions of eligible people may be blocked from voting, people who want to vote, who go along to vote and can't. They're eligible, but they won't be able to vote because of this. In fact, last year, Jacob Rees-Mogg said the system was introduced in order to gerrymander elections. That was his word, in favour of the Conservatives. Now, these days we're used to Rees-Mogg being a backbench MP, so you might imagine he was just shooting his mouth off as usual. However, he was a cabinet minister at the time the plans were being drawn up and implemented. So as a senior member of the government, he was involved in discussions of this policy at the very highest level. If those discussions in government were around using this legislation to stack the odds in their favour, he would have been in the room taking part in those discussions. And although Rees-Mogg tried to claim that actually the moves may have worked against the Conservative voters, a report by the Electoral Commission makes clear this is not the case at all. The groups of people mostly affected are clearly those groups of people who traditionally vote against the Conservatives. And with this Daily Express headline, a paper which openly supports the Conservative Party, we have a suggestion that ignorance about voter ID is very likely to work in favour of the Tories, as millions of mostly anti-Tory voters could be turned away on election day. There are a number of changes to the way the general election is being conducted this year, and much of the public who don't really engage in local elections but do in general elections, have no idea due to the lack of publicity. There's been no letter sent out to all households from the government explaining the changes which apply in elections now. The closest you'll get is there'll be some mention of it on the back of your polling card, but almost nobody reads the polling card because if you're used to voting, you don't need your polling card. There are going to be groups raising awareness of the issue ahead of the general election, but they will not be able to get to everyone. Also, especially as there's a great deal of uncertainty about when the election is going to be, the sooner people act, the better. So first of all, what does and does not count as voter ID? Well, a lot of people can be misinformed because they think, oh, it's photo ID. I've got photo ID. No, not all photo ID is valid. In the description below, I'm going to put a number of links referencing what I'm talking about here, but the two at the top are the most important. The first is the list of acceptable ID. Now, you may notice that if you are not an elderly voter, and particularly if you're living in England, the list is very small in terms of what you're allowed. A younger voter in England especially stands a very good chance of not having any suitable voter ID. Younger voters are vanishingly unlikely to vote Conservative, so it should come as no surprise that these voters stand the least chance of being able to vote under the new system. So if you don't have the right ID, the second link takes you to a page with details about how to apply for a vote authority certificate from your local council. The process is not as straightforward as it could be, so act now rather than wait, but it will get you the voter ID and it is free. It will also cover you for all elections. If you apply before, I think it's April 24th, but do check, You should also have it in time for the local and mayoral elections next month. Obviously, once you receive the ID, be in the habit of carrying it around with you so that there is no danger of forgetting it when you go out to vote. There's also an alternative to this. If you apply for a postal vote, then you will not need photo ID. Postal voting is sometimes necessary for people who will struggle to manage the process of obtaining valid voter ID, which is not easy for everyone, but also those who cannot guarantee they will have time on polling day to vote in person, especially if there may be a long queue at the polling station. Don't imagine, oh, it's just a 10-minute walk to the polling station, takes about 10 minutes to vote. Oh, half an hour. Yeah, I've got half an hour that day. There may be a long queue. Have you got 2 or 3 hours? If you cannot guarantee to be able to set aside a lot of time to vote on the day, don't waste your vote. Apply for postal voting. Your ballot will be posted to your registered address. You can fill it in and you can post it a couple of weeks ahead of the election date. You will also not need voter ID. Finally, a couple of important things to bear in mind. The rules on voter ID state that if you have ID that is out of date, you can still use it if the photo is a good likeness of you. Please do not do this. There were cases last year of officials at polling stations turning people away because they did not agree that the likeness of the photo was good enough. It's a subjective judgment. Don't have your vote taken away from you because of arbitrary standards. If you're going to vote in person, make sure you have valid ID and make sure it is in date to be absolutely sure. Voter ID is an attempt at voter suppression. Don't make it easy for them to steal your vote. Finally, once you've made sure that you'll be able to vote with confidence, please make sure everyone you know is able to as well. Remember, 17-year-olds can still register and arrange all of this so that they are ready should the election happen shortly after they turn 18. And if you'd like to send a message to the party who tried to steal your vote, then the best tactical voting advice for both the local and general elections will be on stopthetories.vote, and check the recommendation on the day you will be voting, not now. In some places, things may change. So do please help spread the word. The Mirror have been trying to raise awareness of these issues, and the Express has unwittingly done so by saying the quiet part out loud, but most mainstream outlets are disturbingly quiet. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe for further content and click the like button. You can also sign up for memberships if you'd like to support the channel further. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later.